New Horizons. The gleaming spires of Galactic Academy Station pierced the inky blackness of space, a beacon of interstellar cooperation and learning. Zara Chen stood at the viewport of the approaching shuttle, her heart pounding with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. At 17, she was one of the first humans selected to attend this prestigious institution, a melting pot of species from across the known universe. As the shuttle docked, Zara took a deep breath, steeling herself for what lay ahead. She trained for years for this moment, excelling in her studies and physical conditioning. But all the simulations in the world couldn't prepare her for the reality of being surrounded by alien species, many of whom had never encountered a human before. The airlock hissed open, and Zara stepped into her new life. The arrival bay was a cacophony of sights, sounds, and smells unlike anything she'd experienced. Towering, four-armed Siraxians lumbered past, their thick hides glistening under the station's lights. Diminutive Zephyrians flitted about on gossamer wings, their high-pitched chatter filling the air. And those were just the species she recognized from her briefings. A holographic guide materialized before her. "Welcome to Galactic Academy Station, Cadet Chen. Please follow the illuminated path to orientation." Zara nodded, hefting her bag and following the glowing line on the floor. As she walked, she could feel the stares of her fellow students. Some were curious, others wary, and a few openly hostile. She kept her chin up, remembering her father's words. "You're not just representing yourself, Zara. You're representing all of humanity." The orientation hall was a vast amphitheater, filled with hundreds of new cadets from dozens of species. Zara found a seat near the back, trying to ignore the empty spaces that formed around her. A holographic figure appeared at the center of the room. The Academy's headmaster, a being of pure energy known as an ethereal. "Welcome, cadets, to the most prestigious learning institution in the galaxy." The headmaster's voice resonated in multiple frequencies, somehow understandable to all present. "You have been chosen for your potential, your drive, and your ability to bridge the gaps between our diverse cultures. Here, you will be challenged in ways you never imagined. You will fail. You will succeed. And in doing so, you will forge the future of our galactic community." As the headmaster spoke, Zara felt a prickling sensation on the back of her neck. She turned to see a group of Drakari students glaring at her. The reptilian species was known for their physical prowess and disdain for lesser races. One of them, larger than the rest, bared his teeth in what could only be described as a sneer. Zara turned back to the front, her jaw clenched. She'd expected challenges, but the open hostility was unsettling. Still, she refused to be intimidated. She was here to learn, to prove herself, and to show the galaxy what humans were capable of. After the orientation, Zara made her way to her assigned quarters. The room was small but efficiently designed to accommodate a variety of physiologies. Her roommate hadn't arrived yet, and Zara took the opportunity to unpack and settle in. As she was arranging her few personal items, a soft chime announced a visitor. The door slid open to reveal a Solaxi, a bioluminescent humanoid with iridescent skin. "Hi there," the Solaxi said, her skin pulsing with friendly blues and greens. "I'm Lyra. I'm in the room across the hall and thought I'd say hello." "You're the human, right?" Zara nodded, relieved to encounter a friendly face. "That's right. I'm Zara. Nice to meet you, Lyra." Lyra's eyes widened with interest. "Fascinating. I've never met a human before. Is it true that your species went from primitive technology to interstellar travel in less than 500 years? That's unprecedented in galactic history." Zara couldn't help but smile at Lyra's enthusiasm. "That's right. We're a young species by galactic standards, but we're quick learners." Their conversation was interrupted by a commotion in the hallway. Zara stepped out to see the group of Drakari from the orientation surrounding a smaller avian species she didn't recognize. The leader of the Drakari, the same one who had sneered at her earlier, was looming over the terrified avian. "Listen here, Featherbrain," the Drakari growled, This sector belongs to us. You want to stay, you pay the protection fee. Otherwise, fly back to whatever nest you came from. Zara felt her blood boil. Without thinking, she stepped forward. Hey, leave them alone. The hallway fell silent as all eyes turned to her. The lead Drakari's eyes narrowed dangerously. Well, the little human wants to play hero. This doesn't concern you, soft skin. Walk away while you still can. Zara stood her ground, her heart racing, but her voice steady. This is a place of learning, not intimidation. We're all here as equals. Back off. The Drakari leader took a menacing step towards her, his scales bristling. You've got guts, human, but guts splatter easily. Last chance to mind your own business. Zara knew she was outmatched physically, but she refused to back down. She recalled her combat training, assessing the Drakari's stance and looking for weaknesses. I am minding my business. The business of making sure this academy lives up to its ideals. Now, are we going to have a problem? The tension in the hallway was palpable. Other students had gathered, watching the confrontation with a mixture of fear and fascination. Just as it seemed the situation would escalate to violence, a commanding voice cut through the air. That's enough. A tall, statuesque figure strode down the hallway. It was Professor Xan, the Academy's renowned xenobiology instructor. His 4 eyes surveyed the scene, instantly grasping the situation. Cadet Drax, he addressed the Drakari leader. This behavior is unacceptable. Report to the disciplinary office immediately. The rest of you, disperse. Cadet Chen, a word, please. As the crowd reluctantly dispersed, Zora approached Professor Xan, her mind racing. Was she in trouble for intervening? That was a bold move, Cadet, Xan said, his tone unreadable. Admirable, but dangerous. The Drakari are not known for their forgiveness or their subtlety. You've made an enemy today. Zara straightened her posture. With all due respect, sir, I couldn't stand by and do nothing. Xan's expression softened slightly. No, I don't suppose you could. It's a very human trait. But remember, Cadet Chen, you're not just here to learn. You're here to teach as well. Many species here have never encountered humans before. Every action you take, every word you speak, will shape their perception of your entire species. Zara nodded solemnly, the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. I understand, sir. Good, San replied. Now get some rest. Classes begin early, and I have a feeling your journey here is going to be interesting. As Zara returned to her room, her mind was whirling. She'd been at the academy for less than a day, and already she'd made both friends and enemies. The challenges ahead seemed daunting, but she felt a fierce determination rising within her. She was here to learn, to grow, and to show the galaxy what humans were truly capable of. Little did she know, her confrontation with Drax was just the beginning. The true tests of her courage, intellect, and humanity lay ahead, in the crucible of the Galactic Academy. Rising tensions. The first week at Galactic Academy Station passed in a blur of new experiences for Zora. Each day brought fresh challenges, from deciphering alien languages to navigating the complex social hierarchies of her classmates. Despite the initial hostility from some quarters, Zara found herself slowly adapting to life among the stars. Her friendship with Lyra, the bioluminescent Solaxi, blossomed quickly. Lyra's infectious curiosity about human culture helped Zara feel less homesick, and in return, Zara found herself fascinated by Solaxi customs and biology. They often studied together in the evenings, comparing notes on the day's lessons. One evening, as they pored over xenobiology texts in the library, Lyra's skin pulsed with concerned purples and blues. Zara, she whispered, don't look now, but Drax and his gang just walked in. They've been watching you all week. Zara resisted the urge to turn around, instead focusing on her datapad. Let them watch, she muttered. I'm not here to make friends with bullies. Lyra's colors shifted to a worried yellow. It's not just about friendship, Zara. The Dracari have a long memory for perceived slights. And Drax, well, he's not used to being challenged. Before Zara could respond, a shadow fell across their table. She looked up to see Drax looming over them, flanked by two other Dracari. His reptilian features were set in a cold smirk. "Well, if it isn't the human hero," Drax sneered. "Enjoying your stay at the academy? It would be a shame if something were to complicate your studies." Zara met his gaze steadily. "Is there something I can help you with, Drax? Or are you just here to practice your intimidation techniques?" Drax's eyes narrowed. "Watch your tone, soft skin. You may have impressed some with your little display of bravery, but don't forget your place here. You're nothing but a primitive specimen, barely out of the trees. It's time you learned some respect." Zara felt her temper flaring, but fought to keep her voice calm. "Respect is earned, Drax. So far, you haven't done much to earn it." The Dracari's scales bristled with anger. He leaned in close, his voice a low hiss. "You'll learn, human. One way or another. This isn't your little backwater planet. Out here, the strong survive, and the weak. Well, accidents happen all the time in space." With that, Drax and his cronies stalked away, leaving a tense silence in their wake. Lyra's skin had paled to a sickly green. "Zara, I'm scared for you. Maybe you should report this to the professors." Zara shook her head. "No, that would only make things worse. Besides, I can handle Drax and his threats." But as the days passed, it became clear that Drax's words were more than empty threats. Small incidents began to plague Zara's daily life. Her locker would mysteriously malfunction, locking her out just before important classes. During physical training, equipment would inexplicably fail when it was her turn to use it. Nothing could be directly traced back to Drax, but the pattern was clear. The situation came to a head during the zero-gravity combat training session. The class was paired off for sparring matches, with Zara finding herself face-to-face with one of Drax's lieutenants, a burly Dracari named Korth. As they circled each other in the weightless environment, Zara saw a glint of something metallic in Korth's hand. With a start, she realized he was wearing an illegal gravity manipulator, giving him a significant advantage in the supposedly equal match. The fight began, and Zara immediately found herself on the defensive. Korth's enhanced movements were too quick, too powerful. She managed to dodge his first few strikes, but a vicious kick caught her in the ribs, sending her spinning across the training area. Gasping for breath, Zara tried to reorient herself. She could hear the instructor calling for a stop to the match, but Korth was already closing in for another attack. Time seemed to slow as Zara's mind raced, analyzing the situation. In that moment, she remembered something from her Earth combat training. In Zero-G, every action had an equal and opposite reaction. A plan formed in her mind, risky but potentially effective. As Korth launched another powerful kick, Zara didn't try to dodge. Instead, she grabbed his leg, using his own momentum to pull herself in close. Before he could react, she headbutted him hard, right in the sensitive area between his eyes. The impact sent them both tumbling, but Zara was ready. She used Korth's disorientation to her advantage, maneuvering behind him and applying a chokehold. The Dracari thrashed wildly, but Zara held on, her muscles straining with the effort. Finally, Korth went limp, and the instructor managed to separate them. As they were pulled apart, the gravity manipulator floated free from Korth's wrist, visible to all. The training area erupted in chaos. The instructor was furious, immediately calling for disciplinary action against Korth. Other students were shouting, some in support of Zara, others defending the Dracari. As medical drones attended to her bruised ribs, Zara caught sight of Drax watching from the sidelines. His expression was unreadable, but there was a new wariness in his eyes. She had passed his test, but at what cost? Later that day, Zara was summoned to Professor Xan's office. The xenobiology instructor regarded her with a mixture of concern and admiration. "You handled yourself well today," Chen, Fan said. But I fear this incident will only escalate tensions. The Drakari are not known for accepting defeat gracefully. Zara nodded, wincing slightly at the movement. I understand, sir. But I can't back down. If I show weakness now, it'll only get worse. Fan sighed, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence. Perhaps. But remember, true strength isn't always about fighting. Sometimes it's about finding common ground, even with those who seem to be your enemies. As Zara left San's office, her mind was whirling. She had stood her ground, proven her capabilities, but at what cost? The lines were being drawn, and she found herself at the center of a growing storm. Walking back to her quarters, Zora couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. The real challenges, the true tests of her resolve and her humanity were yet to come. But as she looked out at the star-filled expanse beyond the station's windows, she felt a fierce determination rising within her. She was Zora Chen, representative of humanity, student at the Galactic Academy. And no matter what the universe threw at her, she would face it head-on, with all the ingenuity, courage, and compassion that made humans unique in this vast alien cosmos. The stage was set for the next phase of her journey, one that would push her to her limits and beyond, testing not just her own strength, but the very essence of what it meant to be human in a galaxy full of wonders and dangers. Unexpected allies. The aftermath of the zero-gravity combat incident sent ripples through the academy. While many students admired Zora's bravery, others saw her as a troublemaker. The human girl found herself at the center of a growing divide, with species taking sides in a conflict that threatened to undermine the very purpose of the Galactic Academy. One afternoon, as Zara sat alone in the bustling cafeteria, picking at her synthesized Earth food, she felt a presence beside her. Looking up, she was surprised to see Kethul, a Volrathi student known for his brilliant mind and social awkwardness. The Volrathi were an arachnoid species with 6 limbs and compound eyes that seemed to take in everything at once. Your combat technique was most impressive, Kethul chittered, his mandibles clicking nervously. I've been analyzing the footage. The way you used your opponent's momentum against him was inspired. Zara blinked, unsure how to respond. Thanks. I just reacted on instinct. Really. Kethul's compound eyes seemed to shimmer with excitement. Instinct, yes. That's what fascinates me about your species. You rely so heavily on intuition, yet you've achieved so much in such a short time. It's quite remarkable. As they continued to talk, Zara found herself warming to the strange, insectoid being. Kethul's genuine curiosity about human culture and his eagerness to share knowledge about his own species was refreshing. For the first time since the incident, Zara felt herself truly relaxing. Their conversation was interrupted by a commotion at a nearby table. Zara turned to see a small avian creature, the same one she had defended on her first day, surrounded by a group of jeering students from various species. The bird-like alien was hunched over, trying to make itself as small as possible. Without hesitation, Zara stood up. Come on, Kethul. Let's go see what's happening. As they approached, Zara recognized one of the bullies as Nex, a centaurian known for his cruel pranks. Nex was dangling something that looked like a data crystal just out of reach of the avian student. What's wrong, little Aetherian? Nex taunted. Can't fly high enough to get your precious research. Zara stepped forward, her voice firm. That's enough. Nex, give it back. The centaurian turned, his 4 eyes narrowing as he recognized Zora. Well, if it isn't the human troublemaker, this doesn't concern you, primate. Walk away. Kethul moved to Zora's side, his chitinous exoskeleton gleaming under the cafeteria lights. I believe the human is correct. Your actions violate at least 3 Academy regulations regarding personal property and harassment. Nex sneered, but Zara could see uncertainty in his eyes. He was used to easy targets, not confrontation. Fine, he spat, tossing the data crystal to the ground. Have fun with the Losers Club. He and his cronies slunk away, shooting dark looks over their shoulders. Zara knelt to retrieve the crystal, offering it to the Aetherian. "Here you go. Are you okay?" The avian being looked up at her with large, liquid eyes. "Thank you," it warbled in a musical voice. "I am Pip. You are the human who stood up to the Drakari, aren't you?" Zara nodded, feeling a mix of pride and unease at her growing reputation. "That's me. I'm Zara, and this is Cathal. Listen, Pip, why don't you join us? Safety in numbers, right?" As they settled back at the table, now a trio of misfits from vastly different worlds, Zara felt a spark of hope. Maybe this was what the Academy was truly about, finding common ground across the stars. Over the next few weeks, Zora's circle of friends grew. Lyra, the bioluminescent Salaxi, became a regular part of their group. They were joined by Zorn, a gruff but good-hearted Tauren whose strength and loyalty proved invaluable. Each brought unique perspectives and abilities to their unlikely alliance. However, as Zara's influence grew, so did the hostility from Drax and his followers. The Drakari leaders saw the humans' growing popularity as a direct threat to his dominance. Tensions simmered, threatening to boil over at any moment. The catalyst came during a xenobiology practical exam. The students were tasked with analyzing and cataloging the newly discovered species of flora from a distant moon. As Zara carefully examined her specimen, she noticed something odd about its cellular structure. "Professor Xan," she called out, "I think there's something unusual here." The multi-eyed instructor glided over, peering at Zora's findings. His eyes widened in surprise. "Remarkable, Cadet Chen. You've identified a unique mutation that we ourselves overlooked. This could have significant implications for our understanding of adaptive biology." A murmur of excitement rippled through the class. Zara felt a flush of pride, but it was short-lived. From across the room, she heard Drax's voice, dripping with disdain. "Of course the human gets special treatment. Probably cheated somehow. There's no way a primitive species could spot something our scientists missed." The room fell silent. Zara felt her friends tensing around her, ready to jump to her defense. But before anyone could speak, an unexpected voice cut through the tension. "Actually," Cathal chittered, his mandibles clicking rapidly, "human visual perception differs significantly from many species represented here. Their ability to discern certain patterns and anomalies is well documented. It's entirely plausible that Cadet Chen observed something we might overlook." Pip chirped in agreement, his feathers ruffling with excitement. "Yes, humans have a fascinating ability to make intuitive leaps. It's one of the reasons they've advanced so quickly as a species." Drax's scales bristled with anger, but before he could retort, Professor Xan intervened. "This is precisely the kind of collaborative thinking we aim to foster here at the Academy. Well done, all of you, Cadet Chen, for your insightful observation, and the rest of you for your thoughtful analysis." As the class dispersed, Zara felt a mix of emotions: pride in her discovery, gratitude for her friend's support, but also a growing unease. She had won this round, but Drax's hostility was escalating. How long before this Cold War erupted into something more dangerous? Later that evening, as Zara and her friends gathered in a quiet corner of the station's arboretum, Lyra's skin pulsed with worried hues. Zara, unconcerned. "Drax isn't going to let this go. He sees you as a threat to everything he believes about his species' superiority." Zorn nodded, his bovine features set in a grim expression. "Lyra's right. The Drakari are known for their pride. Drax will be looking for any opportunity to put you in your place." Zara sighed, looking out at the simulated sunset painting the arboretum in warm hues. "I know, but what am I supposed to do? Back down? Hide who I am?" Thol's compound eyes seemed to shimmer with an idea. Perhaps we could use this situation to our advantage. The annual interspecies collaboration project is approaching. If we could form a team, showcase the strengths of our diverse backgrounds. Pip trilled excitedly, his feathers fluffing up. Yes, we could prove that cooperation is stronger than conflict. Show everyone what we can achieve together. As her friends enthusiastically discussed possibilities, Zara felt a renewed sense of purpose. This was why she had come to the academy, not just to learn, but to bridge gaps, to show what humanity could bring to the galactic community. "All right," she said, a smile spreading across her face. "Let's do it. We'll show Drax and everyone else what real strength looks like. Together." As the artificial night fell over the station, Zara and her allies began to plan. They didn't know it yet, but their actions in the coming weeks would not only challenge the prejudices within the Academy, but would have far-reaching consequences for the future of interspecies relations across the galaxy. The stage was set for a clash of ideologies, a test of wills, and a chance for a young human girl and her unlikely friends to change the course of galactic history. The real challenge was just beginning. The grand challenge. The announcement of the Interspecies Collaboration Project sent a buzz of excitement through the Galactic Academy. This annual event was more than just a school project. It was a chance for students to showcase their abilities, foster cooperation between species, and potentially catch the eye of influential figures across the galaxy. Zara and her diverse group of friends had spent weeks preparing their proposal. They had decided to tackle one of the most pressing issues facing the galactic community: sustainable energy production for developing worlds. Their project combined Kithel's brilliant theoretical work, Lyra's insights into bioluminescent energy transfer, Pip's understanding of atmospheric interactions, Zorn's engineering skills, and Zara's innovative approach to problem-solving. As they stood before the project selection committee, Zara felt a mixture of nervousness and determination. She glanced at her teammates, each of them representing a different world, a different way of thinking. This, she realized, was what the Academy was truly about. "Esteemed committee," Zara began, her voice steady despite the butterflies in her stomach. "We propose a revolutionary energy system that combines the best of our diverse technologies and biological adaptations. By integrating Solaxi bioluminescence, Volrathi quantum theories, Aetherian atmospheric harvesting, Tauran robust engineering, and human adaptability, we believe we can create a power source that is not only efficient, but also adaptable to a wide range of planetary environments." As they delved into the details of their proposal, Zara could see the committee members leaning forward, their eyes, or equivalent sensory organs, widening with interest. Even the usually stoic Professor Xan seemed impressed. When they finished their presentation, there was a moment of silence. Then, one of the committee members, a crystalline being known as a luminarch, spoke up. "This is most intriguing. Your proposal demonstrates exactly the kind of innovative thinking and collaboration we hope to foster here at the Academy. Your project is approved." The team exchanged excited glances, but their celebration was short-lived. From the back of the room came a familiar, sneering voice. "How convenient," Drax drawled, stepping forward. "The human and her band of misfits get to play with fancy tech, while the rest of us do real work." The committee turned to the Drakari, their expressions a mix of annoyance and curiosity. "Do you have an alternative proposal, Cadet Drax?" Professor Xan asked, his tone neutral. Drax's scales rippled with confidence. "As a matter of fact, I do. My team proposes a military-grade defense system designed to protect developing worlds from piracy and invasion. After all, what good is fancy energy if you can't defend it?" Zara felt her heart sink as she saw several committee members nodding thoughtfully. Drax's proposal appealed to the more militant species, and she had to admit, it addressed a real concern in the galaxy. The Luminarch committee member glowed thoughtfully. "Both proposals have merit. Perhaps we could turn this into a more direct competition. 2 teams, 2 approaches to aiding developing worlds. We'll provide equal resources to both projects, and at the end of the term, we'll evaluate the results." Professor Xan's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of approval. An excellent suggestion. It will allow us to compare different problem-solving approaches directly. Cadet Chen, Cadet Drax. Do you accept these terms? Zara looked at her teammates, seeing determination in their eyes. She turned back to the committee and nodded. We accept. Drax's lips curled into a predatory smile. Gladly. As they left the presentation hall, Zara could feel the weight of the challenge ahead. They had 3 months to turn their theoretical proposal into a working prototype, all while keeping up with their regular studies. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of activity. The team practically lived in the engineering lab, working tirelessly to bring their vision to life. There were setbacks and breakthroughs, moments of frustration and flashes of brilliance. One evening, as they were struggling with a particularly tricky piece of integration between Solaxi and Volrathi tech, Zara sat back, rubbing her tired eyes. Maybe Drax is right, she muttered. Maybe we're in over our heads. Lyra's skin pulsed with determined blues and greens. Don't talk like that, Zara. We're onto something big here. I can feel it. Kthul chittered in agreement, his compound eyes gleaming in the low light of the lab. Indeed, the theoretical models are sound. We simply need to refine the practical application. Pip, who had been uncharacteristically quiet, suddenly let out an excited trill. Wait, what if we approach it from a different angle? Instead of trying to make the technologies work together, what if we create a system that allows them to work in parallel, complementing each other? Zorn's bovine features scrunched up in thought. You mean like a modular system, something that can adapt to different planetary conditions by emphasizing different components. Zara felt a surge of excitement. That's it. We're not just creating a single solution. We're creating a framework for endless solutions. Pip, you're a genius. With renewed energy, the team threw themselves back into their work. The next few weeks saw remarkable progress, their prototype taking shape as a sleek, adaptable unit that could harness energy from multiple sources and adjust its output based on local conditions. But their success didn't go unnoticed. As the deadline approached, strange accidents began to plague their project. Key components would go missing, data files would become corrupted, and there were even a couple of close calls with lab equipment malfunctions that could have caused serious injury. Zara knew Drax had to be behind it, but she had no proof. The Drakari was too clever to leave any evidence. The stress was taking its toll on the team, fraying nerves and testing friendships. One day, after a particularly disheartening setback, Zara found herself alone in the observatory, staring out at the stars. She felt a presence behind her and turned to see Professor Xan gliding silently into the room. Troubles, Cadet Chen? The professor asked, his multifaceted eyes studying her closely. Zara sighed. It's just, every time we make progress, something goes wrong. I can't prove it, but I know Drax is behind it. How are we supposed to compete fairly when he's willing to sabotage us at every turn? Han was quiet for a moment, his gaze turning to the star-filled vista. You know, Cadet, in my many years of teaching, I've observed something fascinating about humans. You have a remarkable ability to turn obstacles into opportunities. Where other species see insurmountable problems, humans often find innovative solutions. He turned back to Zara, his eyes glimmering with what might have been amusement. Perhaps instead of trying to prevent Drax's interference, you should find a way to use it to your advantage. As Sand glided away, leaving Zara alone with her thoughts, an idea began to form in her mind. She rushed back to the lab, calling her team together. Listen, she said, her eyes shining with excitement. I think I know how we can not only finish our project, but make it even better than we imagined. As she outlined her plan, she saw hope and determination rekindling in her friends' eyes. They had started this journey as a mismatched group of outcasts, but now, facing their greatest challenge, they had become something more. They were a team, united in purpose and stronger together than they ever could be apart. With renewed vigor, they set to work, ready to show the galaxy what could be achieved when different species came together in true collaboration. The final phase of the competition was approaching, and with it, a chance to change perceptions and perhaps the very future of interstellar cooperation. Little did they know, the true test of their invention and their friendship was yet to come. Triumph of humanity. The day of the final presentation arrived, bringing with it a palpable tension that hung over the Galactic Academy like a thick fog. The main auditorium was packed with students, faculty, and even a few representatives from various galactic councils and corporations, all eager to see the results of the interspecies collaboration project. Zara and her team stood backstage, making last-minute adjustments to their prototype. Despite the sabotage attempts, they had managed to not only complete their project, but improve upon it in ways they hadn't initially imagined. "Remember," Zara said, looking at each of her friends in turn, "no matter what happens out there, what we've accomplished together is already a victory." Lyra's skin pulsed with warm, encouraging colors. Kethal's mandibles clicked in agreement. Pip trilled softly, his feathers smoothing with determination. Zorn gave a solemn nod, his bovine features set with resolve. As they waited for their turn, they could hear Drax's team presenting their military defense system. The Drakari's voice boomed through the auditorium, full of confidence and bravado. "And with this plasma shield generator, even the smallest colony world can stand against the most formidable invasion force. We are not just offering protection, we are offering peace of mind, the ability for developing worlds to grow without fear." There was a round of applause, and Zora could feel her heart racing. How could their energy project compete with something so flashy and immediately impactful? Finally, it was their turn. As they walked onto the stage, Zora caught sight of Drax in the front row, his reptilian features twisted in a smug grin. She took a deep breath and began their presentation. "Esteemed guests, fellow students, we come before you today not just with a new technology, but with a new vision for the future." Zora's voice grew stronger as she spoke, her passion evident. "We've created an adaptive, modular energy system that can be tailored to the specific needs of any developing world." As she explained the technical details, her teammates demonstrated different configurations of their prototype, showing how it could harness energy from various sources and adapt to different environments. But the true innovation, Zora continued, lies not just in the technology itself, but in how we developed it. Each component represents the unique strengths of our team members' species. By working together, by combining our diverse perspectives and abilities, we've created something far greater than any of us could have achieved alone. She paused, looking out at the audience, and that, we believe, is the real lesson here. The greatest challenges facing our galaxy cannot be solved by one species alone. It's only by coming together, by embracing our differences and finding common ground, that we can build a truly prosperous and peaceful future for all. As they concluded their presentation, there was a moment of silence. Then, slowly, applause began to build. It grew louder and louder until the entire auditorium was on its feet, cheering. Zara glanced at Drax, expecting to see anger or resentment. Instead, she was surprised to see a look of grudging respect in his eyes. For the first time, she realized that maybe, just maybe, they had changed more than just the competition today. The judging panel conferred briefly before the head judge, a venerable Arcturian, stood to address the audience. "We have witnessed two remarkable presentations today, each with its own merits. Cadet Drax and his team have shown us the importance of security in an often dangerous galaxy. But Cadet Chen and her team have demonstrated something equally vital, the power of cooperation and adaptability." The Arcturian's multifaceted eyes seemed to twinkle. "In light of this, we have decided to recommend both projects for further development. However, the spirit of innovation, collaboration, and vision shown by Cadet Chen's team embodies the very essence of what this academy stands for. Therefore, they are awarded the highest honors in this year's interspecies collaboration project." The auditorium erupted in cheers once again. Zara felt overwhelmed as her teammates engulfed her in a group hug, their joy transcending their biological differences. As the celebration continued, Professor Xan approached them, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence, a sign of great approval. "Congratulations, all of you. You've not only created a remarkable piece of technology, but you've also shown the entire Academy what can be achieved when we put aside our differences and work together." Zara nodded, feeling a mixture of pride and humility. "Thank you, Professor. But we couldn't have done it without each other. And, in a way, we couldn't have done it without Drax either." Xan tilted his head curiously. "Oh, how so?" Zara smiled. "His interference forced us to think creatively, to problem-solve in ways we might not have otherwise. In trying to hold us back, he pushed us to be better." The professor's eyes twinkled with amusement. "A very human perspective, Cadet Chen. The ability to find opportunity in adversity is one of your species' most remarkable traits." As the day wound down, Zara found herself standing at the same observatory window where she had doubted herself weeks ago. The stars seemed brighter somehow, full of promise. She felt a presence beside her and turned to see Drax. For a moment, they stood in silence, looking out at the cosmos. Finally, Drax spoke, his voice uncharacteristically subdued. "You surprised me, human. I may have misjudged your species." Zara nodded, accepting the closest thing to an apology she was likely to get from the proud Drakari. "We're full of surprises. But then again, I think all species are, if you take the time to look." Drax considered this, then extended his hand. A very human gesture. Perhaps we both have more to learn." As Zara shook Drax's hand, she felt a sense of hope unlike anything she'd experienced before. This, she realized, was why she had come to the Galactic Academy. Not just to learn about other species, but to help them learn about humanity. And in doing so, to forge connections that could change the course of galactic history. The stars twinkled outside, each one a potential home to wonders yet undiscovered. And Zara Chen, representative of humanity, student of the cosmos, knew that her journey was only just beginning. As news of the revolutionary project spread across the galaxy, it sparked a new era of cooperation and understanding. Humanity, once seen as newcomers on the galactic stage, had proven their worth not through dominance, but through innovation, adaptability, and the uniquely human ability to bring diverse groups together towards a common goal. Zara and her friends had not just won a competition, they had taken the first steps towards a brighter future for all species, and as they stood together, looking out at the vast expanse of space, they knew that the greatest adventures and challenges still lay ahead. The universe, in all its infinite possibilities, awaited.